Sometimes I roll into the new year thinking about all the ways that I want to fix my life, when in reality, nothing is necessarily broken. We just need to shift things around a little bit. Hey everyone, it's Aubrey, recovering perfectionist queen of distraction. If you've been with me before, whether it was last year as I decluttered our home or just last week as I shared our goals for a no-buy/low buy year so we can pay off debt, welcome back. And if you're new, I'm so happy that you found your way here. Now, last week we talked specifically finances, but this week I really want to zoom out and focus more on the things that I'm really hoping to change in our lives when it comes to me as a wife, as a mom, as a homemaker, not in like a really harsh stick to these rules resolution kind of way, but in a gentle way that feels actually doable. Now, I do have a lot on my to-do list today, so we are going to chat while I get a few things done. Okay, let's go. So first off, when it comes to homeschooling, I have to create more structure when it comes to our daily lessons. I think with our first year of homeschooling, my son and I got really sucked up in like the idea of the flexibility that homeschooling brings. And while that's all fine and dandy some days, the reality is we need to have more structure than just, we're doing language arts and math today. Like, that's not really a schedule. I am so over starting school at 11 a.m. and then taking breaks all dang day until 7 p.m. And like, really, realistically, not every single day is like that, but enough of the days have been like that to a point where I obviously feel triggered by it, and it's like definitely on my radar.
What is your school tomorrow?
Oh, it's time to get back to it. And on the topic of being triggered, one area that I do really need to work on is my patience as a mom. And it's really not so much my patience as it is my tone. And I really notice this the most with my oldest, my 10-year-old. And I think it is just very much because I subconsciously expect more from him because he's 10. And he is just so quick to argue with me about every little thing. But the reality is he is still a kid. And all of these little power struggles that we have, I need to be the one to stop fueling them. And I'm very much fueling them in the way that I respond. I could also just not entertain them at all. There's a brilliant idea. They are little fires that I am the one. I have the power to put these little fires out. And if I don't do it, nobody else is going to. Now, another area where I notice those little fires popping up is how I communicate with my husband about the kids. This is something that I have already been working on for a while, but my goal is rather simple. Just less reacting in the moment and more checking in and staying on the same team, like making sure that we're on the same page. Just the goal is better general communication when it comes to, how we're parenting together, not parenting like opposing each other. And this is something that really, really matters to me. Like I'd say out of everything, this is probably one of the, my top 2 or 3 most important things. But, as we go into this year and I do have other things on my mind, I want to make sure that this is something that I am keeping on my mental radar, especially as, like I said, I just start focusing on so many other things. Now, something else that could certainly use my attention is our cleaning routine within the home. Since we started homeschooling, it has been so much harder for me to keep the house feeling clean and organized on even a semi-regular basis. And one thing I do try to remind myself is that our house is a living thing, essentially, that is just constantly changing. Everything is constantly in flux. But I am starting to really feel like I'm at a point where I need to start involving the kids even more than I ever have before. And I will be honest, that is very tricky for me because some days I do feel like the only peace and quiet that I get is when I clean. And I don't know if I necessarily want to invite the boys to that. And so far, Jackson has been mostly responsible for keeping his bathroom clean, which has been extremely helpful. But I really do just want to lock in a routine that involves the boys more than they have been in the past, especially as we, get closer to summer. Now, I know summer's not really close, but I just feel like if we get into these good habits of them helping out more around the house, they're going to have a better idea of what I expect from them when we do actually approach those hectic summer months where I do have a lot more on my plate than I typically do the rest of the year. I'm really excited about it, but also, gosh, it's just so much work. Now, one thing I am feeling particularly excited about is my goal to thrift more. I'm already pretty good about buying clothing secondhand from secondhand websites like Mercari or Poshmark, ThredUp, places like that. I have definitely picked up a basket or two in my day that I didn't necessarily need. But this year I do really want to be intentional about making thrift stores my first stop before I decide to buy something new. Now, I will admit, in a way, this is something that does feel hard to feel like it's possible because unfortunately, just some thrift stores are not very thrifty anymore. Like, it is just so dang frustrating to go to a thrift store and find a used, dirty Cat and Jack kids t-shirt for $5.99 when I could buy a brand new Cat and Jack t-shirt at Target for $5. Like, just when did dirty old t-shirts stop being 99 cents? But rant aside, I do want to at least start trying to make the thrift stores my first stop before I buy something off of Amazon or from Target or from wherever, because really, when you do find a diamond in the rough at the thrift store, there's no other kind of satisfaction. Like, it is the best. Okay, now last but certainly not least, and this might end up being one of those things, like I talked about the things that were most important to me when it came to like communication with my husband, but I think that this screen time is definitely like right up there at the top. And this is not just screen time for the kids, but it's screen time for me, probably honestly my husband as well. When it came to screen time, we actually had a really good rhythm when we first started school back in September. Like, we had a strict no screens until after school was completed, after dinner, after our stuff was cleaned up, and when it was dark outside, that was when we were letting the boys start to have their TV time. But as it has gotten darker earlier and we have slid into like the very lax winter break mode, we have just had far more unstructured screen time than I feel good about. And this isn't just about mom guilt. Like, I genuinely see how the extra screen time negatively impacts them, which, I mean, I guess it is mom guilt to an extent, but either way, it is time for us to go screen free for a little bit, you know, a nice screen detox, if you will. Now, back in November of 2024, we actually did a no screen month, and that was just so extremely wonderful and eye-opening on so many levels. But this isn't just about the kids, this is about me too. So for me, this is going to look like me only editing these YouTube videos at the end of the day after the boys have gone to bed, being very honest about what I actually need my phone for. One thing I am going to start doing is keeping my phone on the fridge. Yes, on the fridge. Like, it literally sticks with the phone case that I have, which I will link in the description below. My husband's phone, like, we have the same phone, but his phone case didn't stick. Anyway, it really gives me the home phone vibe, like stationary feel that I really want. Like, I remember as a kid, the phone was just always in the kitchen or at somebody else's house. It might have been in the living room. Like, it just had a spot that it lives. And I don't know, just setting it on the counter doesn't feel the same, but I don't know, just popping it on the fridge, there was just something about it. It was just so dang satisfying. But yeah, so that's that. More presents, less noise. All right, I'm gonna let the boys do all the low down stuff. And now we sit down for a little bit. Okay, so other than our finances, those are the areas that I really want to make sure that we are focusing on this year. Nothing extreme, just small intentional shifts that I know will make a big difference for our family. Now, I will start exercising this time of year as I do, but that's just too cliche to even talk anymore about. Just, I've got some cookies that I need to work off, and that's that. But anyways, I don't want to go into this year thinking about all of these things as restrictions for us. I want to think of it as creating more space within our home, like financially, mentally, emotionally, for the things that actually matter. Now, I will be sharing what this looks like in real life as we progress throughout our year. I don't exactly know what these videos will look like, but I'll be sharing the wins, the ups, the downs, this, that, and the other. Just all the challenges and the lessons we're learning along the way. Now, if any of this resonated with you, I would love to hear what you are focusing on this year. And if you are walking into this season of life craving a slower, more intentional pace, you are certainly not alone. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for taking a chunk out of your day to hang out with me. If you are not yet subscribed and you would like to be, you are invited. Either way, I hope to see you in the next one. I hope you are all having a wonderfully happy new year. As always, I love you, have fun, and be kind.